In yesterday's game against the Detroit Lions, center Zion Johnson had a couple of really nice snaps. And today we're going to talk about what this guy flashed on tape. Obviously, there's a center battle going on right now with the Los Angeles Chargers. You got two guys that are kind of fighting it out. On one end, you have the veteran Andre James, who has started multiple games for the Raiders. And then on the other side, you have Zion Johnson, a guy who really struggled over the course of his career to hold down that guard position. It's a guy that this season moved over to the center position, so he's basically a brand new center, playing that position for the first time, a guy that has to kind of learn some of the calls and those type of things. And we got 12 snaps of him playing center yesterday. And I want to break down some of these snaps because I found some really nice things from Zion Johnson that I want to break down. He did have the botched snaps, which to me it's not a huge deal given that he's a brand new center. You know, those are things that he's going to have to kind of learn and develop. And that's what preseason's for. That's what training camp is for. It's to get used to those type of things for the actual regular season. And I think as the season kind of comes along, if Zion Johnson does win the job, which I think he will, I don't see those type of things happening as we kind of go forward. But let's go ahead and get right into this, man. I want to start right away talking about two run plays that Zion Johnson had. Really good blocks on both of them. And keep in mind, he played 12 total snaps. We're only going to look at maybe 5 or 6 of them. There were some snaps where he had no impact on those plays. But we'll start right away. So you got an 8-yard run here. It's going to be a power run towards the left. And Zion Johnson has what is called a back block on the one technique. And to me, this is such a great job by Johnson because not only does he actually make the block, hold the block, but he generates movement. On this play here, Zion Johnson is not expected to take this guy and move him out of the gap. But he does that. You see this. You see that movement that he's ultimately generating. And that right there is a really good job. Given that the Los Angeles Chargers are going to run a lot of power run concepts, they really want to be a power team. They want to be a bully. They want to move people at the point of attack. This is a good sign right here. You know, one of the things that I think when you look at a guy like Andre James, you look at a guy like Zion Johnson, you have to really think about the scheme fit. Andre James is not considered a guy that will have success in the power run concept. He's a guy that was really built for zone concepts. And even if you guys watch his tape with the Raiders, his best football has always been on zone schemes or zone concepts specifically and not power concepts. The Andre James type of guy that's going to get tossed around, but he is good in zone concepts. Now, Zion Johnson's not necessarily known for his elite strength either, but I do think Zion Johnson did show, at least yesterday, that he can do a good job moving people at the point of attack. Power runs, counter concepts is something that you're going to see a lot with the Chargers this season. And on this 8-yard power run concept, Johnson did a really good job generating that movement. You had another run here as well. This one was a split zone, but it only picked up 1 yard. Johnson, once again, does a really good job getting to his block, right? Using that quickness, that speed that we had seen from him in the past. He's able to find the safety here. He makes contact, and he moves this guy as well. Now, the play only picks up 1 yard. The right tackle ends up getting shedded by the defensive end, and he basically blows up the entire play. But if you only look at what Zion does on this play, he does a really good job getting to that second-level defender. He gets his hands on this guy, and it's just physical the way he gets to him. It's quick. It's efficient. The processing, right? And I always go back to this with Johnson. You know, at Boston College, one of the reasons why I personally really liked him was because he was an elite processor and he moved really well. And I think as a center, that's going to allow Johnson to basically put those two things, you know, at the top. As a guard, you got to be a little bit stronger, a little bit more physical. But at center, you can use that quickness. You can use that processing, right? Because a lot of the times the center doesn't have a guy right on top of him. And I think for the Chargers, moving Johnson to center is going to get the best out of this guy. In fact, I think he'll end up being a really good center for the Chargers. That is obviously if he's able to win the job. You know, he is a first-time center, so there will be struggles. He had the botched snaps last night. I didn't really see any losing snaps that I felt watching this tape that like were 100% on him. I felt like he did a really good overall job, right? And I watched all 12 of the snaps. I didn't see any losing snaps from Johnson. There were some snaps where he didn't get like a lot of push. There were some power concepts in which the front side ended up getting blown up. There was one play specifically where the front side edge player actually ended up jumping inside and the run cut out towards the opposite side, and Johnson had a back block on that one. And the guy he blocked was kind of locked in with him, and that guy ended up making the play. But that wasn't necessarily that Zion Johnson did the wrong thing, right? He made his block. The running back just happened to bounce it or bend it back to the inside. Overall, I felt like Zion Johnson did a really good job as a run blocker. The Chargers didn't have a lot of success last night running the football, but you do got to keep in mind the Hall of Fame game is so early on in the process. Most other teams are going to still have like 2 or 3 practices before they play their first preseason games, right? So you're going to see some struggles as you kind of get into it. And, we'll see what ends up happening as this battle kind of continues, right? You have a couple more games left. You have multiple practices at this point. But I do also want to talk about what I think will be the most, the biggest asset, I should say, that Zion Johnson brings over a guy like Andre James. Now, I'll be the first to tell you guys, when Andre James was a rookie with the Raiders, I am a Raider fan, by the way, if you guys don't know this, right? Although I do content where I cover other teams as well, I do have my own channel where I cover the Raiders. Andre James is a guy that actually was really, really high on literally in his rookie season. I said, this guy actually is, he has some legit upside. If you guys don't know this, Andre James was a former offensive tackle at UCLA. And Tom Cable, who's the offensive line coach when Andre James came over, he actually converted Andre James to a center. So he's a former tackle, converted to center, and he, had to develop, right? He didn't get his opportunity until like the 3rd year where he kind of finally got that opportunity as Rodney Hudson ended up leaving the Raiders. But, Andre James came in and he was doing well. He, developed, but at some point he kind of hit that peak. And one of the things he always struggled with was pass blocking. The guy would always kind of get tossed around. He wasn't able to anchor really well. And I think Johnson, on the other hand, uses his hands really well. He's long. He has that arm reach. And I think that flashed a little bit in last night's game as well. There's 4 plays that really stood out to me with Johnson. The first play was a really, really, really nice play. The Lions end up blitzing. 6 guys come. There's 6 guys that the Chargers kept in, including 5 offensive linemen plus the running back. And the offensive lineman and the running back all just picked it up perfectly. And the quarterback ends up throwing a pass like 20, 25 yards downfield. Beautiful pass. But really, this starts with the guys up front. If the guys up front don't execute their blocks, you're not going to be able to get this pass completed downfield. And honestly, Zion Johnson, to me, just a phenomenal, phenomenal job. Now, we don't obviously have audio to this, so we don't know, the calls or whatever he may have said or may not have said. But do understand, the running back is kept in to pick up the linebacker. The offensive line slides to the left of how we're looking at it, right? They're sliding towards the right tackle, so to our left. And Zion Johnson has the 2-eye technique. But what ends up happening is the linebacker and defensive tackle end up running a stunt, right? They end up running a defensive line game. And Zion Johnson has to pass this off to, I believe that's Salyer that's right next to him. He passes it off to number 68, and the swap is phenomenal. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. Not only does Johnson end up holding that defensive tackle, but the way he fully passes it off to the right guard here is really, really, really impressive. Not only is the right guard in a great place, but then Johnson gets off of this, comes to the linebacker, and shuts him down as well. Right? That right there is what you want out of your center. Right? To me, your center has to be able to process and pick up defensive line games. And this was one of the big knocks I had with Andre James. He was slow in terms of processing. He wasn't able to really anchor, right? He struggled against guys that had a good bull rush or guys that may have been a little bit stronger. And I think with Zion Johnson, that's going to be the one big difference you're going to see between the 2 guys. One guy has a good anchor. The other one kind of struggles a little bit. To me, that play was really nice. But these next 2 plays, even better when it comes specifically to being able to anchor down. On this first play here, he goes up against number 90. This is a true pass set where Zion Johnson actually gets, he stands up and almost takes a step back. It's a true pass set for a center. And he anchors against number 90. And you see how long he stays attached to this guy. Right? That right there is impressive as hell. To be able to block a guy for 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds at in any given play, that right there is absolutely incredible. And I do understand, some of these guys are backup players. You cannot overlook that, right? They're younger players, they're backup players, 100% understandable. But if Johnson was struggling against backup players, that would be a concern. But the fact that he was out there having a really, really, really good game is something that's positive, is something you want to look forward to. Now, You'll get another one here. This one is a little bit different because the offensive linemen are actually going to jump set because it's a play action. So the last play was a pass set in which Zion Johnson stood up, took a step back. This one, he's going to fire forward, which is to try to suck in those linebackers. You're essentially trying to, hit some sort of crossing route behind those linebackers. So Johnson's going to end up going forward, but even as he goes forward, he once again stays attached to this defensive tackle for a good second here, right? He doesn't get shedded super quickly. His guy doesn't win. His guy doesn't generate pressure. He does his job within this play. And again, there's one or two other plays as well where he did a really, really good job in pass blocking situations. But overall, man, I felt like Johnson had a really, really good game. And I know some people might say, hey, it wasn't perfect, right? He had the snap issues that kind of happened. But we have to recognize this guy's very, 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 very first time playing center in the NFL. And I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to fully develop and get to the point where you can say, hey, this guy's a long-term center. But one of the things to also kind of keep in mind is if Johnson does end up staying with the Chargers long-term, center's probably going to be the one position that he can, end up being the guy for the Chargers. Johnson moves well. He has a really good anchor. It is not great, but it's good enough, right? I think it is an asset for him, especially given he uses his hands really well. But the learning curve is going to be the one thing that I think for the Chargers you're going to have to really think about. You can go with the veteran in Andre James who started, 2-3 years. Do keep in mind, Andre James did lose his job last season to Jackson Powers-Johnson, the rookie. And, I don't think Andre James would have probably been a starting center for that much longer anyways, even if they didn't draft Jackson Powers-Johnson. He was really struggling over the past 2 seasons. And I think for the Chargers to think Andre James is going to come in and end up being a long-term center, I don't think it's going to happen. You could go with him, given he's a veteran, and, he might, from a communication perspective, be ahead of a guy like Johnson. But I still think Johnson has much more upside, much more potential, and I think he's the better football player, to be honest with you guys. So we'll see what ends up happening. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We will check on this battle as we kind of continue to go forward. Let me know what you guys think. We will be covering the Chargers on this channel this season. If there's any player you guys want me to break down, let me know in the comments below. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.